What's up, you beautiful Redditors? Hope you're having a fantastic Monday. Welcome to the RNEWS Morning Show. And let's just jump into it. From r/news. Human activity has wiped out 2/3 of world's wildlife since 1970, Landmark report says. The oceans and forests need to be replenished. Jobs for everyone. If you want to do something that will give you real, tangible results, plant native plants on any piece of land you can influence. Fill your yard, tell your neighbors, plant them at church or school or work. We need native plants everywhere. Ecosystems are built on plants. Planting native plants feeds insects that can only feed on native plants, which is most of them. There are 500 or so species of caterpillar that can eat oaks in North America. There are 4 species that can eat crepe myrtle. These insects feed other species, like birds, which take something like 900 insects per day to raise a nest of babies. Or foxes, which get 1/4 of their calories from insects. Invest in your ecosystem. Invest in diversity. Obviously we need systemic change. But part of the change that will save our future is building homegrown national park. Why don't we just have the military do it? The military should have always been used to replenish and enforce protection of wildlife areas from human destruction, poaching, illegal fishing, etc. Unfortunately, most militaries don't exist to protect society. They exist to enforce state and corporate profiteering. War is a racket. Recently, each day makes me a little more glad I didn't have kids to inherit the hell we're baking for them. You're watching the RNEWS show. From r/news. Crowd cheers as Charlottesville takes down statue of Confederate soldier. If you want to honor Southern fighters, honor those who helped during the Underground Railroad and the Southern Unionists who organized themselves and fought while surrounded by Confederates. Those are the real badasses. The people who want to honor Southern soldiers are not in the same Venn diagram as people who admire the Underground Railroad. There's also a difference between honoring the dead and a cause. I have ancestors who died on both sides. The Confederates were subsistence farmers who answered their state government's call. They are buried quietly in a cemetery with the dead who have died in every other war the town sent men and women to die in. The plaque is about 6 by 6 inches recalling their sacrifice. What they don't have is a freaking statue in town square, because that honors the cause, not the soldiers. Do you have examples of those? Seems like this would be something someone had a copy-paste of. Not that I can't go Google, but I'd imagine there exist people lazier than I am. en.m.wikipedia.org 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 en.m.wikipedia.org. Imagine being offended by people kneeling and saying it disrespects the flag, then celebrating people who actively fought a war against the very same flag. The protests were never about the flag, and the Confederate flag was always about white supremacy. That so many people keep having to point this out is a testament to the efficiency of the conservative propaganda machine. You're watching the RNEWS show. From r/politics. The USPS is accused of confusing voters by mailing all Americans postcards with misinformation about voting. Strange how we can magically send every American household a postcard about voting by mail, but can't manage to send a ballot. Donald Trump will never stop complaining about how mail-in voting isn't secure. But my landlord is subscribed to his crap, and mail from Trump comes to our house frequently. He sure seems to think it's secure when he's begging you to send $50 plus in an envelope with a pre-written letter to enclose that assures him that you think he's amazing. Edit. Just in case anyone thought that last bit was exaggeration, I wish it was. Strange how USPS just manage multiple census mailings and return envelopes, yet can't seem to manage with ballots. Super strange. Also like how that totally truthful and impartial Durham report is coming out a few days before the election. If only there was a way to identify someone who lived in a state where this advice is wrong. Maybe an abbreviation or a geographically based numerical code. You would figure that the USPS could figure something like that out. You're watching the RNEWS show. From r/World News. Canada reports 0 COVID-19 deaths for first time since March. Cases are rising in BC, Alberta, and Quebec, so we're not out of the woods yet. And Ontario. Basically all of major Canada. Good thing I live in minor Canada. Musical notes experience Regina AAAA. You haven't really experienced minor Canada until you've spent 4 days taking chartered flights, helicopters and snowmobiles to tiny mining towns in the Northwest Territories. Try Nunavut. At least Yellowknife has paved roads, a real airport, a Canadian Tire, another regular stuff. Pangnirtung has a KFC and a convenience store, and Iqaluit has a Tim's in the North Mart. Or a place like Grisefield with a whopping 129 inhabitants. But yeah, if you haven't been to Northern Canada, it's a neat place. Still have yet to get to the Yukon, but I've got a good amount of time in NWT and Nunavut. Leaving aside the socio-economic issues, there's some great sights that people don't even think to see, like Accou National Park. When you say Canada, it includes Quebec, right? Quebec reports 219 new cases of COVID-19. 3 more deaths today. You're watching the RNEWS show. From r/uplifting news. Indianapolis boy cured of sickle cell disease after stem cell transplant. That's amazing. Science rules. My hospital system has also participated in similar trials, but using CRISPR. It's having wonderful results, and so far the patients are not having any reoccurrence of sickle cell crisis. We aren't yet ready to say they are cured, but it is certainly going great. Edit. Here's an NPR article about it. My brother suffered from extreme sickle cell his whole life and still is. 32 years old. I know there are some treatment that works for some and mostly while they are young. They didn't work for my brother, but I've put all my money to get him this treatment if there's a possibility it'd work for him. Agreed. Science is such a goddamn blessing. Is there still a resistance to stem cell research? As there was years ago. I remember it being called satanic, and a murder plot to kill babies. All sorts of, not just unscientific nonsense, but legit anti-science. There are still people preaching this, but there are other sources of stem cells. Why it's being portrayed as only available from fetuses is beyond me. My guess though is it's because it suits their narrative and gets them in the news, limelight. Regardless how you feel about abortion, it shouldn't go against stem cell research. If you believe abortion is murdering children, and you proactively work to stop stem cell research, you are actively murdering the children it is saving. You can't reason someone out of a position that they didn't use reason to arrive at. You're watching the RNEWS show. From r/news. Twitter permanently suspends QAnon account belonging to friend of Scott Morrison for harmful activity. How is this still going on? None of his predictions came true. Because Q said, disinformation is necessary, so cultists think any failed prediction, which is all of them, is just him heroically feeding disinformation to throw the deep state off the trail of the good guys. Holy crap, these guys are nut jobs. First cult. I read an article that suggested with Q we might be watching the establishment of a new Christian sect like the Seventh-day Adventists. Honestly, I could definitely see Q becoming a new religion. Those who are into it have such culty devotion to its existence. It's easy to see them making a church out of it. Christian ISIL. Yeah, Al-Qaeda. Already here, they are labeled dominionists. Hey, isn't William Barr of those? The Conways, Oliver North, Pompeo and Bannon are all part of the same specific dominionist cult. The CNP. Q is Jim Watkins, owner of Chan. Edit, updated to the correct name. Super ironic Q and the whole movement is against pedophiles given the amount of child porn on that site. And that's where we're going to end today's show. But if you like what you saw, leave a like, and if you want to see more of the RNEWS show, hit that subscribe button. As always, this has been the RNEWS show and I'll see you tomorrow.